I thought that this workshop was about stating positions, that the idea was submit position papers or slide decks with positions, and so I will do that, and it gives a little bit of our previous work. So the position of this paper is the following. If you care about tying in multi-cores, then there are resources in the Mellon system. You may want to use mechanisms to isolate these resources, contention-free resources, and then you may need to coordinate these mechanisms. That's the one-liner, or two-liners, or three-liners for this talk. And I will get into the background in this talk. Okay, so here we have a typical multi-core. One processor, another processor, we have a memory system, and then we have a program executing here on processor 1, we have a program executing on processor 2, and then you have a timeline here, and here's the execution time executed individually, but because of contention for resources in the memory system, they have longer execution times. So you've probably seen these things before. It's problematic because we can have jobs that arrive. This is not just any program, this is a job from a real-time task. It arrives and has a deadline here, so it finishes after its deadline. You can see that in this particular case, the job finished after its deadline, therefore it's unscheduled code, it's bad. So we can see that the increase in execution time for the co-runners can be problematic in hardware testing systems. Obviously, I think you'll be doing this. So, is this a problem? Maybe this is just some academic thing that we don't need to care about. And by the way, didn't rate atomic, wasn't that already invented in the 80s? That should have solved all the problems. Do we really need to research on this? So, one can ask, do we really need to care? So, there's been some empirical studies about this. What is the slowdown? So, Schoenberg, he didn't actually study multi-core, he studied a single process system and studied if you have DMA accesses, what is the slowdown of the program. He found that the slowdown is 1.25. Andersson did a similar setup, studied a similar setup with cutting slightly different down to 1.44. Schoenberg also studied the same setup, but now with a synthetic benchmark, so slowdown of 1.49. Below in the 90s, he didn't study multi-core, he studied the multiprocessor and looked at the memory bus contention and found a slowdown of 1.5. Pack recently reported, I don't know if she's here. Okay, maybe she left. She reported is 2.5 for, that performance is 0.4. Andersson, now we get into multi-core area. We saw a slowdown of 3. Nobovich, slowdown of 5.1. Shah, this was reported recently in this computer magazine, October or November. Slowdown of factor 6. This was emulation of environment emulation. And then we had also reported recently in Marcus, same results. And then Kim and other researchers at SFI, CMU, that's me and DU and others, we saw a slowdown of 14. Norwich saw a slowdown of 15. And Rajkovic saw a slowdown of 50.1. This was for multi-threaded CPUs. And then we have June slowdown of 103 or 103. So this is higher than the other ones. So this is like the world championship with multi-core slowdown. So I think we can I think you can conclude that the program can experience a slowdown because of conventional memory system, and in some cases it can be 103 times. That's a factor. So I don't think this is just doesn't matter. I think there are cases when it matters. So this the argument that this is such a small thing, so we can ignore it, and it's just a waste of time. I think that's a bad argument. I think this can be significant, and we should really see this. You probably agree with me on this. But not everyone does. So since we're here to talk about avionics, we get into certification, we get into guidance documents. We know there is something called DU178C. And what does this say about the slowdown? DU178C talks about overrun detection, but it actually doesn't say anything about the slowdown. So some can ask, wouldn't it make sense if we have some certification authorities got together and wrote some position statements about how to deal with multi-cores in certification, and write a position statement about that? And the good thing is that that's been done. There is this CAST 32 paper, which now is CAST 32B, that states objectives for using multi-cores in systems. So also, but that's just objectives. Would it make sense if researchers and practitioners in the industry would get together and write a position paper also? And the good news is that that's been done. There is this minimal multi-core avionics certification guidance that offers that. And I think it was mentioned also in the morning. So then one can say, okay, I accept that there is a problem, but haven't we seen this before? I mean, we heard so much scheduling, and we know that there's so many solutions. Isn't everything solved? Why do we need to be here? So, yeah, these documents they provide objectives, but we also actually need solutions that can achieve these objectives. So it makes sense to keep talking about this. And then someone can say that, oh, haven't we heard about this before? We have cache coloring been known since the 90s. We have bank coloring is a little bit newer, but memory bus monitoring, I mean, we have a paper 20 years ago that did this. So hasn't lots of things been solved? Isn't that enough? Do we need to talk about this? So I think I have lots of things to say about this. I think there is more work to be done, and I think there's a reason to continue this workshop. This is the devil's advocate, by the way. Well, one of my positions that I'll talk about now is that even if you have all these solutions, there is a problem when you put them together. If you have just taking cache coloring and bank coloring together and apply them, may not work because they have an underlying node in the operating system. The node that they use is the virtual physical address translation. So here is the position. So we argue that if you face this problem, that you have two mechanisms to reduce credit unpredictability. And if they use the same underlying node, then you need to coordinate their use. So if, for example, if you want to use cache coloring, if you want to use bank coloring, then you need to use coordinated cache and bank coloring. So yeah, just reiterating what I mentioned. That's setting up the virtual to physical translation scheme. So if you achieve cache coloring and you also achieve bank coloring. So I'll just go through a little bit about how it works. So here we have a system with a simplified example with 4 processors and 4 tasks. When we just have 1 task per core. This is once again just a simplified example to illustrate the idea. And we have a shared cache and then some memory banks. And we know that when the task generates a virtual address, then it gets translated to a physical address. And here we have a bunch of cache sets, and here's a group of cache sets, so that a certain bit X is 1, and bit Y is 1, and the same thing, but we have other bits. And then we have memory bank, and there is a decision based on the physical address. Certain bits there that decide if the memory access would use, this memory bank or this memory bank, and so on. So what we would like to achieve is that when the processor makes load or store instruction, memory operation, then it should look at in this shared cache first, and if it's a miss, then it should use this memory bank. We would like to achieve cache coloring and bank coloring. And we would like to achieve that if this task access looks up in the memory, that's LLC, it should get here, or then if it misses, it should get here, and so on, and so on. So now I'm ignoring memory bus, I'm just considering cache and bank so far. Yeah, so we can observe that if you use cache coloring partitioning, when we make sure that access go to the correct group, and if you use bank partitioning, then they will get to the correct bank. And we would like to set up the virtual to physical address translation scheme so we achieve both of them. And the results are available in our paper. There are some more complications about finding bits, and there are other complications that I will not get to. So let's see some more coordination, some complications. So now we move task 2 to processor 1. So task 1, task 2 are on this processor, and task 3 and task 4 are on the same processor as before. So now we can see that they are assigned to the same processor, so they can preempt each other, and therefore we'd like to give them different groups of cache sets. So we get isolation on respect to the cache. But since they execute on the same processor, then it's fine for them to use the same memory bank. So we actually still have some effect. If every context switch, we can still have some bank context, but it's so small that we don't need to care. Because context switches aren't that common. So we pay a little bit every context switch, but it doesn't matter that much. So we can see that we always want tasks to be isolated with respect to the cache, and we of course always want them to be isolated with respect to the memory banks, but what we need to achieve is different. We can allow 2 tasks that are assigned to the same processor to have the same memory bank. So we can see that when we do coordinate cache and bank coloring, it's not just that we coordinate cache coloring and bank coloring, we'd also like to coordinate that with allocation or assignment of tasks to processors. There is the allocation decision we can do for the page to physical translation is different if he's assigned here or if he's assigned here. Because if this task is assigned here, if it's designed here, then you can use this memory bank that is designed here. Okay. Yeah, so coordinated cache and bank coloring also needs to be coordinated with the assignment of tasks to processors. And also, we know that the execution time of a task depends on how many cache sets it's designed. It really impacts the amount of self-eviction. So more cache sets leads to less self-interference. And I think we know that we need to do a scalability test when we do the assignment of tasks to processors. So what we end up with is that we need to do coordination of cache coloring and bank coloring and assignment of tasks to processors and the scalability test within the assignment of tasks to process. And that also depends on how many cache the cache sets that a task gets. So there are many moving parts. So how can we solve this? How can we solve this problem of doing coordinated cache and bank coloring and assigning tasks to processors and figuring out the execution time? Considering that the execution time depends on how many cache sets the task receives. So man can do it in different ways, but what we have done is to formulate a mixed interlinear program. You could probably use some other technique as well, like Prolog or some subsolve or similar things. But we've used a mixed interlinear program and solved it, and the results are available in iSyncs. It's reasonably good scalability. I don't think we have any problems. Okay, so now when we have this, we have seen that we can do coordinated configuration of different cache and bank and assignment task to processors, and consider some complexities like execution time dependence on the number of cache sets. Why don't we do more of it now when we have a good framework? So why don't we try parallel tasks? Because there are some issues there. I will not go into details. And why don't we include memory bus contention? I ignored that so far. Because we could say that, if you execute them in a certain way, then you have some extra execution because of memory bus contention. Why don't we bring that in? And also, why don't we have more fine-grained allocation? So why don't we describe, for example, each page of a task, describe it with a variable exactly to which memory frame will be allocated. So we have much more fine-grained model. Now we have done that also. So there is a write-up about this. It's not so scalable, in the sense that we don't analyze very, very large systems. We analyze systems with, I think, 3 processors, 3 tasks with 4 processors, but they are parallel tasks with lots of stuff within each task. But at least it can be done, and we have considered the memory bus and the cache and bank, all of that in one big mixed interlinear program. I think I was not being too long. So we have seen that if you have different mechanisms, if you just use them, they can conflict and need to coordinate their use. So in general, I think we need frameworks to do this, and it could be some form of constraints that actually we use mixed interlinear programming. We may use something else.